Coach Hugh Freeze has had his opening press conference for the Auburn football versus UMass game. Let's talk about what he said, our reaction to it, and of course, hear from you as well, all here on this stream. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. Let me set the table for you for today's very short live stream. We're going to be discussing, reacting really, to the press conference notes and just discussion points from the UMass versus Auburn press conference with Coach Hugh Freeze. For those of you that don't know how this works, every single week, Coach Hugh Freeze will get together with the media and discuss what happened in the previous game, if there was a previous game, unlike this week, and looking ahead to the next game. That's one being UMass for our all intents and purposes here. So that is what is going to be on the table today. I'm going to give this to you in basically two parts. We're going to try to get you out of here in about a 10 to a 15-minute time span, depending on how much we have to discuss here. But first part, we're going to just give you straight what you need to know from this press conference in case you do not want to go and watch it yourself, although I highly encourage you do that. But also at the back half of this, we'll take some comments, questions, reactions. So go ahead and get fired up with that now and go ahead and start posting those, especially if you are watching live. Before we jump into all of that, let me go ahead and give you this prompt. If you can, if you enjoy this type of content, please do make sure you smash the like button, whether it's on the replay, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook. It's very much appreciated if you feel like we have earned that. And of course, we'd love for you to go ahead and get started by checking in with us. Post in the comments right now. If it's live or on the replay, doesn't matter where you're watching from, your city, state, international. And of course, any comments or questions or thoughts that you have, reactions that you have about what we're going to talk here today. So again, we're going to try to do this every single Monday about midday. It's the first one, so I'm giving you guys a little bit of extra stuff just to kind of anticipate. If you guys enjoy it, seems to do well, we'll continue to do so. So that's really dependent on you guys, if you enjoy the content, I guess, if I provide good content or not. So if you want to follow along with what's happening almost real time, if you're not able to watch, we typically are able to give you some notes via our X/Twitter account. And we'll be going through mostly those as talking points, and then we'll kind of come back and talk through some of the other things. So bear with me for this first part. I know most of you just want this information anyway, so we're going to go ahead and give it to you right at the top here. We have got opening comments from him on the UMass game. He anticipates a magical experience in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which to me, obviously, we always know that it's magical there, no matter what time of day, what day it is. It's always a great time to be in Jordan-Hare Stadium. He says that this is one where he's having more family come than ever before. You know, this is kind of his grand return to the stage in terms of head coaching at this Power 5 level. But he's also feeling that pressure to meet the expectations of the fans. He noted about how the tickets have been sold out, but for this game, for most of the season games, the season tickets have been sold out. A lot of expectations that he's obviously anticipating, wanting to meet those expectations. So what we'll go through from here, those are his opening comments, and I'm not going to hit every single thing that he talks about in these press conferences, but I want to give you the gist of the information. So if I'm missing something, obviously let us know in the comments section, and we'll address it on the back half of the show. He feels that for Auburn to be successful this year, it's going to really be dependent upon the run game, and that makes sense, given the fact that this is a new system, new players, all the different transfers and new people that are coming in, including high school recruits. Running the ball is going to what makes them be a little bit more successful in the long term here. He also talked about, and usually you get these in the opening press conference for the game week, a injury update. And I think I've got all these names down correctly. JD Rim, defensive back; Jalen McLeod, edge rusher; Nehemiah Pritchett, defensive back; Robbie Ashford, quarterback, effectively the number 2 quarterback. And then also I didn't have written down here, Nick Mardner. All of those guys apparently are a little bit, he said to varying degrees, dealing with some type of injury, but he wouldn't be surprised if all of those guys play. So if you kind of break that down and look at it, you see maybe Nehemiah Pritchett is probably the biggest one there that's maybe a little bit concerning as our star cornerback of sorts. alongside DJ James, that one probably would be the one that concerns me a little bit. Not that there's any reason to panic about that right now. Big thing from this particular press conference, which I found the most interesting, and I think a lot of people found this interesting, was right before this press conference went live. I'm assuming the media was giving out the information, started posting about the depth chart being released. He was asked about it immediately, and he basically flat out said, it's kind of an interesting exchange, I'll say, where he said he doesn't believe in depth charts. He said that before. And he said that's more of an SID type of thing that they just give to the media. So whether you believe that he is or about first team, second team depth charts or not, obviously that's out there. Most of that stuff that's given to the media is going to be based off of some pretty good information. So, well, it may not be an official thing in Coach Hugh Freeze's mind, which I respect. It probably is very close to what it's likely going to be. But from his mouth, no first team, second team designations have been given to the players. A little bit about UMass, and this is what's good about these opening press conferences. He has played UMass several years in a row at Liberty, so a lot of familiarity there, especially Don Brown, their head coach, who apparently is just very well known for his defensive capabilities. Their last year was apparently their biggest improvement, despite what their record shows. I think he said they had like a top 10 defense. There's a lot of good transfers, much deeper overall team, so maybe that record kind of gets fixed a little bit this year. They already won their first game versus New Mexico State. Coach Brown's system is known for being very chaotic for opponents, and he noted the quarterback, the running back, and a couple of their transfer wide receivers are the ones that you're probably going to be watching. He was asked about what happened or how would he handle the magnitude of being back in the Power 5 game, and he said that he hadn't really thought about that aspect as much, more so about being at Auburn specifically and taking in the moment. He was asked about Peyton Thorne and Thorne's what sticks out to him or continues to stick out to him, Thorne's attention to detail, how committed he is to his graduate studies that he's doing at Auburn right now, and how much he wants to have the mental part of the game down for him as the leader of this offense, but obviously just for him personally too. Back again to talking about the being advantageous to run the ball this year and that they're going to lean really heavily on that group. And he's looking for the UMass game to be a clean game for the team. And that's what you really want to see in a game like this, where you're expected to win, where you should take care of business for the most part. And you're really hoping that it doesn't just get a little bit ugly at times with some of the things that you shouldn't be doing, even though it is the first game there, but looking for a clean game versus UMass. He noted that UMass has a very different offense than what he is used to, even though he has familiarity with them. The defense, though, is going to be very similar, but that doesn't take away from how challenging it's going to be. He does value getting to see them against New Mexico State, but because of what they do offensively, there's still much more tape they wish that they had on hand. Looking for he was asked specifically about several players. One that he did discuss was Omari Kelly. I think the big terminology that's being used of late is that he's got the juice. Especially in practice. And Omari Kelly got a lot of good praise from Coach Hugh Freeze in the press conference. Hugh also, this was an interesting note, asked more about the run game, pass game balance. Hugh believes in a traditional run game, but oftentimes the throws off the runs, or maybe those little short passes that technically get counted as passing yards, could be counted in there as well. Yards per carry, I'm calling it /a catch, is more so telling the story of what he views as a potent and powerful running game. So I think that's a big thing for Auburn fans. You probably want to go ahead and get ready for a lot of short passing attempts, maybe in this first game, maybe not. There's another note that I'll bring up here in just a second. Don Brown's defense, as we talked about, is very formidable, very well known, and gave him fits last year that he mixes up his defense on the front with even and odd numbers. And their job is they're really focusing on trying to confuse the offensive line. And last couple notes here, UMass likes to start, or for the UMass game, he wants to start with simple throws for a new quarterback. But unfortunately, the trap coverage that UMass does on defense makes it a little bit difficult, noting that they did have a pick 6 in the last game off of that defense. They don't give a lot of opportunities for good hitches and such to get the ball rolling, so to speak. All right, so that was about 10 minutes right on the dot, giving you the notes. I know that most of you probably watched this or aware of some of these things. What are some of the things that stuck out to you? Any last minute things that you'd like to discuss off of this press conference, things that you're taking away that we can hit to round out our short live stream? We saw Devin's here, Kevin is here, Drew's here. Good to see all of you fine people with smiling faces. Can we talk about coach speak and what it actually means? I always thought Harsin did a good job at speaking honestly to the media, but a lot of people said he did coach speak. Yeah, coach speak is typically something that's thrown around a lot because it's a cool term and it makes you sound like you're in the know if you use it. But I mean, it is a real thing. So when people talk about coach speak, it's mainly discussing as much as I love Coach Malzahn seemed to be pretty prevalent with this, not giving a lot of information, even though you're using a lot of words and maybe not being so direct. Coach Harsin was very good about being direct. As time went on, especially as last season went on, you could see him getting a little bit more guarded and protected. And I think that's understandable in some sense, but also frustrating in the same sense. People wanted more transparency. The worst things seem to get. So it doesn't seem like Hugh has a lot of coach speak, being very frank about the whole depth chart issue. So that's interesting. Drew asks, so excited for the season. I think it's going to be a good season. What do you think? And not going to get into that here, Drew. We're going to be probably doing a live stream about that or a video about that coming up. So we'll have to tune in for that. Devin thinks that Hugh did a great job speaking honestly and answering the questions. So there you go. No coach speak really from that one. Travis checking in, Megan checking in. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you've got any other thoughts, comments, or questions about this press conference, keep them coming. Let me kind of go back to maybe some main points from the press conference. The depth chart discussion / maybe issue. It's not really an issue. It just found it very interesting that the depth chart was being made a big deal about in social media from the media members, understandably so. It's a big thing that happens every year. And then when he's asked about it, he basically just kind of says, that's nothing. It's interesting dynamic there. I was a little uncomfortable when it first happened. In no way do I think that Hugh Freeze is going out there blindly not knowing who he's going to run out there first. But what he's saying is he wants every single one of his guys to be ready to run out there on a moment's notice, whether it's to start the game, the second play, or the last play. You've got to have everybody ready. So I understand the mentality. I also understand the need, maybe not the need, but the desire to have that depth chart out there. Here's the big fact that I'll point out, and I'll quote AJ, or at least roughly quote AJ Richardson, our No Huddle podcast host. We will know when whoever shows up on the leaderboard or the Jumbotron shows up. So I guess we'll have to officially wait until then. For now, Hugh Freeze says no depth chart. Let me talk about UMass. What I find really interesting about UMass is how prolific their coach is. You know, I pride myself on being a big college football fan, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't dismiss teams like UMass, even if they've got a great head coach. It sounds like this will be a really good test in the first game for Auburn, especially when you've got what most people would assume to be an offensive-minded team with a head coach like Hugh Freeze and a defensive-minded team like a coach like Don Brown. That's going to be a really interesting dynamic. That's going to be fun to watch and will present a challenge for this offense, especially this offensive line. So whereas you talk about, we all get frustrated with these cupcake games to start off the year, maybe this is exactly what the Docker ordered. A team you should beat, but that is going to present a challenge for you. Those were the two big things that stuck out to me, was how complimentary he was of UMass and the whole depth chart issue. So if you got any final comments or questions, post them in right now. Other than that, let me remind you of the last few things here. Next upcoming live stream that we have scheduled, always stay tuned for pop-up ones like this, will be Auburn Family Night this Wednesday night at 8 Eastern time here on YouTube, Facebook, wherever else you can get it. Don't miss it. You can obviously be a channel member or a Booster Club member. All those links in the description here on YouTube are how you can help support our content and be part of our little family within the Auburn family. Thank you all so much for tuning in to our live stream reaction show of the press conference of Hugh Freeze. It is UMass versus Auburn game week, and we are so excited Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.